자, 이어서 왜 안 움직이지? 이게 대체 무슨? 코끼리가 탈출해서 3층을 올라가기라도 하는 건가? 정확히 내 머리 위에서 나는 소리다. 하지만 그곳은 창고방이다. 아 맞아, 창고에서 이상한 소리 난다 그랬었지. 이제 창고를 조사해야겠죠? 거의 막바지에 도달했는데 뭐 사건이 더 터지나? (3층) 3층이면은 가족 거주지라 그러지 않았나? (3층으로) 뭐 자꾸 웅웅 울려. 쿵쿵거리는 건가? 근데 윗방이면은 여기겠죠? 창고로. 대체 스털링 씨가 한밤중에 이런 소란을 일으키는 이유가 무엇이란 말인가? 야 나도 담궈지는 거 아니야? 둘밖에 없으면은? 씨. 얘는 왜 뭐만 하면 자꾸 마인드맵을 펼치냐? 아치볼드는 한밤중에 일어나 약간의 소음을 냈다. 그가 왜 그러는지를 정확히 알아내야 한다. 반드시 그가 무슨 일을 꾸미고 있는지 정확히 알아내야 한다. 유력한 범죄 용의자니까 알아내야겠죠? 아 근데 살인은 엘리자베스가 했다 그러지 않았나? 일단 대화해봅시다.
Monsieur Starling. Oh, detective. I was just... Please. I eagerly await to hear what reason you give for being in the storage room at this hour. A butler's job is never...
저기 책장 보니까 약간 끌리는 흔적이 있는데.
spun enough stories this weekend. Honestly, detective.
찾았다. 비밀의 방.
And with good reason.
제 인내심에도 한계가 있습니다. 대체 여기서 무엇을 하고 계신 겁니까? 야 탐정이잖아. 저 뒤에 저거 눈치채야 되는 거 아니야? 눈썰미가 이렇게 없어?
I often think on fond memories, but it does not take me to a storage
추억하고
room in the
있었다.
middle of the night.
추억하려면 뭐 춤이라고 춰야 되나?
There are many memories held within these walls. I just wanted to see them again.
스털링 씨는 마치 이 집을 떠날 계획이라는 것처럼 말한다. 무슨 가구를 옮기는 것 같은 소리가 나던데요.
I didn't realize the noise I was making.
Obviously. Were you preoccupied looking for another of the Major's medals?
Of course not. I already explained.
야반도주 각세고 있는 거 아니야?
You attempted to dupe me again into believing one of your stories.
Please, detective. I know you know how it ended up in my possession. I was just trying to get some extra money together to send home. I can't lose this job.
Theft of a medal would be the very least of your problems.
이 집안에서 당신의 지위를 기만과 남용을 위해서만 쓰셨지 않습니까?
Deceive? I'm sorry that I lied to you about the medal.
훈장뿐만 아닌데. 스털링 씨는 자신이 한 일을 정면으로 맞닥뜨리고도 변함없이 인정하지 않는다.
Would you care to explain the fake telephone call?
그래.
It
전화.
was purely for my benefit, no?
Why would I fake a telephone call?
The same reason that Mademoiselle Rihanna dressed in the Major's jacket in the snow, to allow not only the guests but me to believe the Major was still alive.
아 유력한 살인 용의자랑 둘이서 대화하는 건 좀 탐탁치 않은데 얘가 갑자기 돌변해서 막 돌진하면
I
어떡해.
didn't kill him,
무서운데.
detective.
I know, monsieur, but I also know that you helped the one that did to cover their tracks.
근데 얘는 직접적인 살인자가 아니라 도운 공범이라고 봐야 되나? 그런
It
느낌이다.
wasn't like that. We were just trying to help. She had no part in it.
도와주려고 했을 뿐입니다. 관련 없는 사람이요. 그거 앞뒤가 안 맞잖아. 도와줬는데 관련이 없다니 뭔 소리야. 하지만 선생과 레아나 양은 엘리자베스 양을 돕기 위해 자기 자유를 잃을 위험을 감수했죠.
You never let on. How long have you known it was her?
Monsieur, I am Detective Hercule Poirot. I only show my hand when I deem it
필요하다고
necessary.
생각할 때만 제패를 보이지. 안지 별로 안 됐으면서 이 녀석도 씨.
You will be taking her away then.
She will stand trial for what she has done.
But you don't know the full story. She is just a servant in this house. If she is arrested, that will be the end for her.
체포된다면 그 애는 끝장이에요.
If Mademoiselle was only protecting herself, as you both have claimed, she will surely be found innocent.
근데 이미 한 사람의 인생을 끝장냈는데 뭐 아직도 여기서 뭐라고 계셨는지 설명하지 않으시는군요.
The Major's military
이제
storage
탈탈
box.
털어놔야지. 군용 보관은?
The one that stored his medals.
Amongst other things, yes.
And those other things are?
I had to protect her. If you found it when searching the study, you would have carted her off then and there.
Whatever it is you have hidden, it will not remain that way for much longer.
스털링 씨는 분명 무언가를 숨기고 있다. 그의 암호 같은 메시지에 의존하기보다는 자체적으로 조사를 해야겠다.
I need a moment.
아니 딱 봐도 저 뒤에 있는 책장 개수상한데 이거. 이거 누가 봐도 개수상한데? 아 스털링 씨 왜 이러실까? 어? 지금 사실대로 말하면 본인은 봐주실 수도 있는데. 분리된 성인 조각상.
아하.
집안 곳곳에서 발견할 수 있는 여러 성인 조각상 중 하나로 창고 방 하나에 있는 상자에 버려져 있다. 왜 여기 성인 조각상이 있는 것일까? 이거 말고 저거 말고 근데 시계랑 이거 다 뭔가 움직이는 흔적이 있는데 전체적으로. 야 내가 여기서 조사하고 있으면 쟤는 얼마나 똥꼬 떨릴까. 자 봅시다. 분리된 성인 조각상. 아치볼드는 사연이 있다고 주장함. 살인과 관련된 물건을 숨김. 숨겨진 방에 판덴보시가의 비밀이 숨겨져 있을 수도 있음. 아치볼드가 이 집을 떠난다는 암시를 함. 아치볼드가 은폐 행위로 인정함. 가윗돈을 챙기려고 훈장을 훔쳐감. 가윗돈? 이게 끝인가? 여기서 연결될 만한 게 비밀이 숨겨져 있어서
Magnifique.
분리된 조각상이 비밀의 방으로 이어지는 무언가 관련이 있을 수도 있다. 이것으로 아치볼드의 등장을 설명할 수 있다. 창고방에서 비밀의 방으로?
Things are beginning to become.
아치볼드는 비밀의 방에 물건을 숨겼을 것이다. 비밀의 방은 아마 창고방 안에 있을 것이다. 그치? 창고 이제 조사하면 되는 것 같아요. 뭐야? 아무것도 없고 시계 여기도 아무것도 없고 근데 뭔가 끌리는 흔적은 있는데 저거는 상관없나? 됐다. 숨겨진 방? 이 집에는 밝혀내야 할 비밀이 더 많은 것 같다. 저 밖에 있는데 신경 안 쓰네. 들어와도. 소량의 군용 물품 상자다. 몇 통의 편지와 약간의 유품이 들어있다. 여기에 비밀 통로가 있었구만. 라이터. 비싸 보이는 라이터다. 안타깝게도 전쟁을 고스란히 겪은 것 같다. 나의 회상 내세포에 이미 이 미스터리에 대해 아는 것이 있을 거라고 믿는다. 연결할 게 벌써 나왔어? 뭐야 아직 연결할 거 없잖아. 편지. 고인이 된 자작의 유언장이다. 안젤리네를 진정으로 사랑한 것 같다. 에드인 팜덴봇이 자작은 맑은 정신 상태에 있음을 선언한다. 이 유언장은 어떠한 외압 또는 강압에 의하지 않고 나의 의사에 따라 작성되었다. 유언장인가봐요. 소령이. 나의 사망 시 나의 배우자인 카산드라 판덴보시를 판덴보시 가문의 재산에 대한 유언 집행자로 임명하며 판덴보시가의 이름으로 남은 모든 재산은 나의 유일한 딸 안젤리네 판덴보시에게 물려준다. 이게 소령 유언장이라고? 아니 근데 에드윈이면은 잠깐만 에드윈 판덴보시 자작 자작 죽은 자작의 유언장이네. 죽은 자작의 유언장. 소령께 아니라 에드윈이 순간 누군가 했네. 하도 안 나와가지고 이걸 다시 읽어볼게요. 내용은 안 읽었으니까. 미지급 채무, 나의 의료비용, 장례식 비용, 관리 비용은 벨기에 국립은행에 개설된 판덴보시 가문 계좌에서 지급한다. 내 딸 안젤리네에게 눈에 넣어도 아프지 않을 밤 하늘에서 가장 빛나는 별과 같은 나의 딸. 한순간이라도 그 빛이 바르지 않도록 하렵나. 나의 아나 카산드라에게 함께 보낸 즐거운 세월에 고맙다는 말을 전하고 싶소. 우리는 웃음을 나누고 사랑하며 힘을 합쳐 이 세상에 가장 귀중한 선물 같은 존재를 낳았지. 앞으로도 당신이 그 아이를 보호하고 기회와 희망으로 가득한 앞날을 준비해 주리라 믿소. 후주 변호사 사무실. 안젤리나에게 재산을 넘김. 부인의 관리 아래에 있음. 재산은 안젤리나에게 물려줬지만 자작은 재산을 부인 관리하에 둘 것을 요청했다. 재산 자체는 안젤리나 건데 관리만 이제 카산드라가 하는 거였나 그럼? 군용 칼 찾았다. 소령의 것으로 보인다. 이게 흉기겠죠 아무래도. 사라진 칼이 무기일 수도 있음. 이게 핏자국으로 봐선 이렇게 연결해야겠죠?
What a revelation.
살인에 쓰인 무기를 찾았다. 엘리자베스가 이것을 서재에서 사용했을 것이다. 아치보드랑 대화해보고 이거 관련해서. 그 다음에 방위 공격. 상처는 전형적인 공격에 의한 것 같지 않다. 방위 공격에 가깝다. 방위 공격이 그러니까 저쪽에서 먼저 공격해가지고 방어 수단으로 찔렀다 이런 느낌이었죠. 그러면은 어디다 연결하지? 또 연결할 만한 게 이거를 읽은 순간 두 개가 나왔는데? 아직 칼을 본 순간 두 개가 나왔지. 장미 조각. 소령이 속했던 연대를 나타내는 장미 문양이다. 이 칼은 소령의 것이 틀림없다. 라이터.
Order and method.
아니에요. 소령의 것이 틀림없다. 이거랑 관련있나? 장미 조각?
The pieces of the puzzle are finally coming
저기
together.
값비싼 라이터에도 약간 장미 조각이 있죠. 이 라이터는 소령의 것이 틀림없다. 부대 문양을 보아 확실한데 이미 내 소지품 중에 있지 않던가? 군용 라이터. 이거는 정원에서 주운 거였나?
Some would say a lucky guess.
군용 상자에서 찾은 라이터는 확실히 소령의 것이다. 즉 다른 것은 소령의 것이 아니라는 뜻이다. 이것도 아치볼드랑 대화해봐야 되냐? 야, 아치볼드 일로와. 딱 걸렸어 임마. 녀석이 어차피 들통날 건데 이거를 끝까지 숨기고 말이야. 그래도 도망치지 않고 기다리긴 했네.
There is no use lying anymore.
어제 정원을 조사하다가 소령의 것으로 짐작되는 라이터를 발견했습니다.
He always had his regiment lighter that he received in the war on his person.
And yet, it was not his regiment emblem that was engraved on it.
My father's. It must have fallen out of my pocket. You still have it, detective.
깜방에는 라이터 못 들고 들어가지 않나 어차피?
Monsieur, you have stashed evidence, manipulated a crime scene, obscured my investigation, and yet it is a lighter that you worry about most?
If it is my path to end up behind bars for what I have done, so be it. It is Elizabeth.
진실도 밝히지 못하고 엘리자베스를 감옥에 갇히게 해서는 안 됩니다. 그럼 진실을 말하라고 그냥 처음부터.
How you fought for that young maid before, Florette, is it? I only ask that you do the same for Elizabeth.
사건의 심각성은 크게 다르지만 엘리자베스 양이 재판에 회부되기도 전에 권위 및 사회적 지위가 있는 사람들에 의해 유사한 대우를 받게 될 것은 충분히 그려볼 수 있다. 나는 사법 공무원으로서 정의와 공정을 지키겠다는 맹세를 했다. 엘리자베스 양에게는 다른 용의자처럼 법정에서 자기의 결백을 증명할 기회가 주어져야만 한다. 사라진 살인무기.
You found it.
Even the secret area that has been created here is not concealed enough to stop Detective Hercule Poirot.
아, 이 새끼 진짜 유리해진다 싶으면 자뻑 개쩌네 진짜.
I couldn't just leave it at the scene for you to
아,
find.
뭐 이겼으면 티비깅 한번 갈기는 거지 뭐.
The Major was killed by his own knife. The knife that protected his life during the war would eventually be the one that ended it.
It was in his holster when he attacked her. He had hold of her arm. What else was she meant to use to get him off of her?
칼은 칼집에 꽂혀 있었고 그는 엘리자베스의 팔을 붙들었다. 그를 떼어내기 위해 달리 무슨 방법이 있겠습니까? 소령이 쉽게 칼을 빼앗겼을 것 같지는 않다. 칼이 손에 닿으려면 분명 가까운 위치에 있었을 것이다. 아마 주장하는 것처럼 소령이 공격한 것이 맞을 것이다.
She didn't plan any of it, detective.
근데 소령이 엘리자베스는 왜 공격했지?
Defending herself.
That is what Mademoiselle told you?
She did, and I believe her. You think you knew the Major, but you had no idea. He was a monster and had more secrets than all of us combined.
소령 괴물이었다.
That may be true, but that does not excuse what she has done.
Put yourself in her shoes for a minute. If a man like that had attacked me the way he did Lizzie, I would have done a lot worse to him.
엘리자베스는 스털링 씨에게 자신의 입장에서 소령이 자신을 공격했다는 이야기를 했다. 그런 이야기를 꾸며냈을 가능성이 있다고 생각하려 애쓰지만 나도 그녀가 살인 같은 것을 할 수 있으리라고 믿어지지는 않는다.
I need a moment.
여기서 연결할 만한 게 새로 생긴 게 이거 두 개거든요. 아치볼드는 소령이 엘리자베스를 공격했다고 주장함. 정원에서 찾은 라이터는 아치볼드의 것임. 아치볼드가 정원에 있었음. 정원에 있었던 이유가 창문으로 빠져나가서 그랬던 거야?
I should not be so.
내가 찾은 것이 아치볼드의 라이터뿐이라면 다른 것은 그가 수거했을 것이다. 아치볼드가 정원에서 수거할 만한 것이 무엇이었을까? 아버지 라이터. 아니지. 그러면 소령 라이터를 수거한 거 아니야?
I must take a
아닌가?
different
칼인가?
another success.
칼을 던졌나 보구나. 그래. 맞네. 아치볼드는 창밖으로 살인에 쓰인 무기를 떨어뜨렸고 정원에서 수거하여 비밀의 방에 숨겼다. 이거에 관련해서 또 대화해보고. 여기 뭐 붙어있나? 없고. 일로와.
There is no use
그럼 제가 그날 밤 정원에서 본 사람은 당신이었죠. 안 그렇습니까?
When you asked me yesterday about seeing someone out there, I thought the game was up.
That does not explain what you were doing out there.
When Lizzie took me to the study, the knife was still in the Major's chest, and I knew I had to get rid of it. I dropped it out of the window, knowing no one would be going outside. It was fine for the time being, but I couldn't risk it being found when the snow melted.
So you collected it under the cover of darkness and stowed it away in here where you thought no one would find it.
After your questioning in the pantry, I knew you were onto something.
이제 들통날 것 같으니까 장소를 옮기려고 그랬나봐요.
And where did you plan on moving it to?
Honestly, I don't
솔직히 말하면 잘 모릅니다. 일단 꺼내자고 생각한 건가? 그냥? 엘리자베스를 구하기 위해 그 물건을 수거에 숨긴 것을 보면 그는 그녀가 법망을 피하게 해주고 싶었던 것이다. 오케이. 여기는 클리어. 그러면은 이제 뭐함? 이제 침대 가서 자면 되는 거야?
There is no use.
마지막 하나 질문하겠습니다. 왜 그러셨습니까? 그치, 이게 제일 중요하겠죠.
Why I would risk everything to help Lizzie?
Exactement.
그럴 만한 이유가 있을 거 아니.
Because she is family. If you were in that position, you would do the same.
I can assure you, monsieur, that I would not.
가족이라고? 친가족이 아니라 그러니까 그만큼 친하다는 뜻인가?
Then perhaps that says something about you, detective. I would do anything for her, for any of my staff.
Even if it means crossing the boundaries of the law.
Without question.
스털링 씨가 가족으로 여기는 사람을 보호하기 위해 어느 정도까지 할 수 있을지를 알고 나니 존경스럽다. 하지만 그러한 정도가 무고한 사람들을 보호하기 위해 제정된 법률을 어기는 데까지 이른다면 그것은 좌시할 수 없다. 집안 숙녀분들 아침 시중을 들고 나면 레하나 양과 직원방에서 기다리십시오.
Aye, detective. But please, you have to help Lizzie. It was all an accident. She doesn't deserve to spend the rest of her days behind bars because of that man.
이 시대 때도 근데 정당방위라는 법이 있었네.
If she is put behind bars, it is because that is what the courts have decided upon.
Detective, you can't be so cruel.
It is not cruelty, monsieur. It is the law.
법이 그래. 이렇게나 많은 사실이 밝혀지고 나니 내 머릿속은 굴레 씨의 초콜릿 가게만큼이나 바쁘다. 나는 왜 엘리자베스가 소령을 죽였는지 추측하기 위해 필요한 모든 퍼즐 조각을 모았다. 이제 조합해야 된다. 엘리자베스가 소령을 죽인 이유 판단하기. 비밀의 방에서 그 문서를 찾고 나자 엘리자베스가 소령을 살해한 이유가 맞아 떨어진다. 그 문서? 그 문서라고 하면은 유언장밖에 없지 않았나? 자작이 안젤리네에게 재산을 넘김. 인가 경비가 먼저 공격함. 루크 공장 파업 당시 사망함. 소령의 도움에 두둑한 액수를 지불함. 이거는 소령 불명예 전역서죠. 포로를 불법으로 처형하였다. 전쟁 포로를 사살했음. 연금을 받지 못함. 불명예 제대였으니까. 소령은 협박 편지에서 요구하는 금액을 지불함. 요거?
Things are beginning to become.
그 사실이 드러나면 그의 명성은 땅에 떨어지고 말 것이다. 협박 편지의 동기로는 안성맞춤이다. 근데 이 사람은 보면은 딱히 떨어질 명성이 없는데 이미 밑바닥인데 보면은 이미 밑바닥인데 뭘 걱정한 거지? 비어있는 수통, 표준 군용 상자, 군용 물품 상자. 소령은 옛 친구들과 연락했음. 민병대 조직. 부인 자산이 부인이 관리하고 있으니까 재정 상태가 안 좋아서 들러붙었나?
I cannot see the logic
아니에요.
in this.
이어지지가 않는데요. 두둑한 액수를 지불함.
I must act. The pieces of the puzzle are
연금을
finally
받지
coming
못해서
together.
재정 상태가 좋지 않다. 그래서 재정적 어려움으로 인해 수입원을 절실하게 찾아 헤매게 되었다. 그렇게 어려울 때 누구에게 의지할 수 있었을까? 그래서 에르네스토
I should not be surprised by.
한테 일감을 받았고 소령은 일을 진행시켜야 했다. 돈을 벌려면 그 수밖에 없었다. 이를 완수하기 위해 무엇을 할 수 있었을까? 일을 확실히 완수해야만 했음. 그래서 경비가 먼저 공격을 시킨 건가?
Some
실적을
say
내기
a
위해서.
lucky guess. I
약속한 돈을 확실히 받기 위해 소령은 파업 참가자들을 공격할 것을 명해야 했다. 1차 공격을 명함으로써 벌어진 결과는 무엇이었을까? 결과로 인해서 루크가 사망함. 노동자들이
What a revelation.
불행히도 소령의 행동은 루크의 죽음을 불렀다. 모든 것이 탐욕 때문에 벌어진 일이었다. 누가 가장 여기에 심각한 영향을 받았을까? 그러면 엘리자베스가 영향을 받았으니까 엘리자베스가 살인자다.
Another success.
엘리자베스는 관여된 사람 중 그 누구보다 많은 것을 잃었다. 아마도 복수를 다짐했을 수도 있다. 엘리자베스가 복수심에 불타는 성격으로 보이지 않는다. 하지만 모든 흔적이 사랑하는 루크를 위한 복수를 위해 그녀가 단행하는 행위임을 가리키고 있다. 이 일로 소령이랑 대화하다가 소령이 먼저 공격해가지고 엘리자베스가 방어수단으로 칼질을 한 건가 그냥? 만약 내가 엘리자베스 양과 대면해야 한다면 나는 최선을 다해야 할 것이고 내 작은 회색 뇌세포는 최대한 각성한 상태여야 한다. 최소한 지금은 휴식을 취해야 할 시간이다. 뭐야 벌써 잤어? 잠에 취해 뭉구적거릴 시간이 없다. 엘리자베스 양을 대면하고 가능하다면 마침내 그때 발생한 일의 진실을 알아내야 한다.
Detective Poirot, I'm glad you're awake.
뭔가 사건이 신기하게 증거 같은 걸로 증거 위주로 돌아간다기보단 인물 위주로 좀 돌아가는 그런 느낌이네요.
Bonjour, mademoiselle. It has certainly not been a night of peaceful sleep. There is something that we must discuss.
Please, Detective, I'm not sure I can take any more surprises like last night.
I'm afraid this may be the most upsetting of them all.
You have found Felix's killer, haven't you?
찾긴 찾았다.
I have. And the guilty party will certainly come as a shock.
이런 말씀을 드리게 되어 정말 유감입니다.
Detective, please.
It was Mademoiselle Elizabeth that was behind the Major's death.
You must be mistaken. Elizabeth would not.
아,
could
조사에서
not do such a
나왔다니까.
thing.
I assure you I am not. It is something I spent much of last night deliberating. When you spoke of the telephone lines being out of order, it made me question the conversation I thought I had held Monsieur Sterling
근데
make
이
with the Major
아가씨가
before
전화선
connecting the
끊겼다고
call
말 안
phone.
했으면은 사건 막힐 뻔했네.
But it hasn't been working all weekend.
Exactement, mademoiselle. That is when I knew I had once again been lied to.
스털링실 레아나 양과 이야기를 나누러 가는 길에 저는 엘리자베스 양을 만났습니다.
She was meant to be resting in the staff quarters. She has not been well.
I am afraid that was yet another lie, orchestrated to keep her from incriminating herself.
Why would you think that, Detective?
I only managed a few words with her before we were quite abruptly interrupted by Monsieur Sterling.
I must admit, he has a habit of speaking over the other staff.
It was much more than merely disturbing our conversation. It was done with the
엘리자베스가
intention to
말
prevent
실수할까 봐.
Mademoiselle saying something that she should not.
So, Elizabeth killed Felix, and then Archibald helped her cover it up?
In its simplest form, oui. I have heard it directly from the horse's mouth.
You have spoken with Elizabeth already?
이제
Did she
얘기하러
admit to
가야지.
it?
Not Elizabeth, but Monsieur Sterling.
뭐야? 자막이 잘못 나온 건가 저거? 어젯밤 창고방에서 들려오는 엄청난 소음에 놀라지 않으셨습니까?
I wasn't.
뭐야?
What were you doing in there,
그렇게 큰
Detective?
소리가 나는데도 몰랐다고?
It was Monsieur Sterling that I found in there. I was taken by some surprise to hear anyone awake at that hour.
What on earth was he doing?
He claimed he was merely reminiscing of his time with the family.
처음엔 구라쳤죠.
You don't believe him.
It did not take long for me to uncover the truth of why he was there and the location of the Major's murder weapon.
창고 방 안에 숨겨진 구역에 대해 알고 계셨습니까?
Hidden area?
A room that
생각보다
held all
집주인인데
of
왜
the
몰라,
Major's
얘는.
secrets.
I had no idea. Did you discover the reason for his blackmail?
I did. Were you aware he was dishonorably discharged from the army?
불명예 전역.
Dishonorably? What does that mean?
안젤리네 양에게 진실을 숨기지는 않겠지만 소령의 이전 행각에 대해서는 최대한 사려 깊은 방식으로 전해야겠다. 자카리아 씨가 전쟁 중에 겪었던 문제들을 알고 계시겠지요?
Yes, Gideon told me about the conversation you had. It is really quite upsetting.
Zachariah was adamant of the Major's cruelty during the war, but the extent was not known until now. He killed a number of prisoners, men that were friends of Zachariah.
아 진짜 악연이 깊겠네 이 정도면. 근데
Surely not.
근데 걔들이 안
He would
죽이고
not do such
하냐가
a thing.
죽였다고?
They must have been trying to escape.
I am afraid not. They were in fact unarmed.
Oh, detective.
It is the reason he was discharged, denied his military pension, and I believe the reason he fled England.
He had been such an important part of my life for so long, but I feel like I hardly knew him.
스털링 씨는 엘리자베스 양의 결백을 단호히 주장하고 있습니다.
Innocence? You said it was she that killed him.
It was her hand that held the knife, but he was
정당방위다.
quite insistent it happened in self-defense.
이 시대에도 정당방위 제대로 작용하는지 모르겠네.
In all of the years I have known her, she has barely even raised her voice. I cannot believe she would do something like that out of malice.
The whole truth cannot be known.
야, 근데 사람이 이성의 끈이 끊어지면 어떻게 될지 모르는 거예요. 나조차 엘리자베스 양의 성격에 대한 선입견으로 사건에 대한 그녀의 개입 가능성을 인식하지 못했다. 나만 그런 것은 아닌 것 같다. 엘리자베스 양을 대면할 시간이 온 것 같군요.
Will you allow me to be present?
I think that is an excellent idea. I hope your presence will calm her and will perhaps allow her to speak more freely.
뭐 아가씨 데려간다고?
Please, detective. I know she has done a terrible thing, but I beg of you to give her the time to explain herself.
I will offer Mademoiselle Elizabeth the fair trial that she deserves.
Thank you, Detective Poirot.
Would you bring Mademoiselle Elizabeth to the study where we will not be disturbed?
Of course, I'll find her immediately.
스털링 씨가 엘리자베스 양과 소령 사이에 일어난 사건들에 대해 해준 말을 믿는다. 만약 그가 그녀를 공격하고 목숨의 위협을 느낄 정도로 몰아붙이지 않았다면 그녀가 저지른 일을 감행했으리라 생각하지 않는다. 반드시 그녀의 이야기, 진실을 들어야만 처벌 여부를 결정할 수 있다. 진짜 얘기 들어보고 이제 정당방위인지
Mademoiselle
아니면
Elizabeth, merci for
살인을
joining
한
us.
건지 알아보려는 것 같네요.
Miss Angeline said you requested to see me urgently.
We have some serious matters to discuss, and I would like to waste no further time.
Oh, yes, Detective.
아직까진 침착해. 몸은 좀 어떠세요?
Still not quite myself.
I was surprised when Monsieur Sterling hurried you to assist Madame Vandenbosch last night.
I should not have avoided my duties for so long. The house does not stop because I'm feeling a little under the weather.
That is true, but you cannot be expected to complete all your tasks if you are not in the right frame of mind.
Honestly, Detective, it was best for me to not sit and wallow anymore.
이번 주말 조사는 여러모로 저를 애먹였습니다.
Have you been able to uncover who the blackmailer is?
협박범은
The
이미 알아냈고
blackmailer's identity has been established, and they will pay the price for their crimes.
Wonderful news, Detective. You can put it all behind you now.
아니, 이
You must
녀석.
be thrilled.
그냥 몰래 넘기려고 이거
I would not
어물쩡거리면서
be thrilled, knowing that such a close friend has betrayed us.
Mademoiselle is correct. What I have
협박편
learned over
집어낸
this
사람은
weekend
근처
is
사람이었으니까.
that people are not always as they appear. While they may give an impression of being a friend or ally, they can in fact be something completely different.
And, what of the Major's killer?
너요 너.
Well, mademoiselle, that is why I have asked you here now.
좀 마음이 정리가 됐나봐. 저렇게 당당하게 물어보는 거 보니까요. 저는 모든 손님들에게 소령에 대해 어떻게 생각하는지 질문했습니다. 이제 그 질문을 엘리자베스 양에게도 하죠.
I'm not quite sure what you want me to say, Detective.
Your honest opinion is all I ask, and s'il te plaît, do not hold back. No,
We only spoke when there was something in the house to be done. We did not speak of interests or pastimes.
딱 일 있을 때만 얘기를 했다.
you knew of his work with Monsieur de Silva?
I only know what is required of me to know, and that is very little.
But you were aware of his work as security at Monsieur de Silva's factory.
I was.
The factory your beloved Luke worked at.
그때 맨날 말하면은 애매하게 대답하면서 자꾸 넘기려고 그러는 애들이 다.
Yes, detective.
루크가 파업에 가담했을 뿐만 아니라 최전방에도 있었다고 알고 있는데요.
Yes, that is where he spent his last moments. Standing shoulder to shoulder with his fellow workers.
The resulting riots were a terrible tragedy. One that I hope we will not have to see or experience again. Something that could have been avoided had the Major and his...
Nobody deserved to die that day. Not my Luke.
그의 죽음에 소령을 탓하는 겁니까?
Detective, what kind of question is that?
It is a straightforward one.
He...
Mademoiselle, if there is something you wish to tell me...
약간 원망하는 마음이
Now is that
있긴
time.
하겠지, 아무래도.
I'm sorry, detective. I just don't know how to answer it.
Let us consider what we know of the Major. He fronted the militia that attacked the workers at the strike. You were aware of this? You finally had someone to blame for Luke's death. Someone conveniently located in the same house, alone in his study.
No, detective. It wasn't like that.
Tell me what happened with the Major on the evening of his death.
I was only in here trying to prove what I heard Mr. Beckers say. I was going to report him, I swear. Miss Angeline, you believe
지금
me, don't you?
아가씨한테 지금 매달리지 마시고.
I want to. I am still trying to understand it all myself. Why don't you start from the beginning?
I was delivering Miss Angeline's dress to her room when I heard Mr. Beckers arguing with the Major in his study. They were ever so loud. I thought the whole house would have been listening to what they were saying. Mr. Beckers was talking about the factory strikes and how it was the Major's fault. He told him that if he didn't own up to his crimes, he would go to the newspapers.
I cannot imagine the Major would have taken kindly to Monsieur
그것
Becker's
때문에
threat.
베커스랑 소령이 싸웠고 조금 말다툼이라고 해야 되나?
He called him some rather uncouth names before Mr. Beckers left and went downstairs and made sure to keep out of sight. After the altercation between the Major and Master Gideon, you went to speak with him outside, and I thought I could look around his study without anyone knowing. I had to know for sure. If it was true, he deserved to be held accountable.
엘리자베스는 그럼 대화 듣기 전까지는 소령이 책임졌다는 걸 모르고 있었던 거예요?
And did you find the proof you are looking for?
I found a payment from Mr. De Silva, but there was nothing incriminating about that. I was so nervous. I felt like my heart was beating out of my chest.
그래서 얘기한 대로 찾다가 그 방을 수색하다가 저 증거를 약간 찾았고.
And then you saw the blackmail note.
I recognized the writing on the envelope. I couldn't believe it. How could he do such a thing to Angeline? To the family that had taken him in?
Common sense would determine the Major was another victim of the blackmailer.
If I'd have used common sense, I wouldn't have been snooping around alone in his study in the first place. I heard the footsteps in the hall, and before I could move, the Major was standing in front of me, demanding to know why I was going through his belongings without permission. I tried to come up with an excuse, but nothing came out, and when he saw the letter in my hand, it was like Dr. Jekyll turning into Mr. Hyde. I tried to move around him towards the door, but he hurled something towards me, and it crashed against the wall.
That would explain the damage to the wall.
I froze. I have never been so scared in all my life. I thought he was going to kill me there and then.
And you thought you would beat him to it.
Oh, detective, you make it sound as though I had it all planned. He lunged forward and grabbed me by the arm. I tried to push him away, but he was too strong. His grip just got tighter and tighter. If only you had seen the look in his eyes, I dared not even scream. I saw the sheath on his belt. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to hurt him, but he wouldn't let go of me.
So you took your opportunity to put an end to it all.
I just wanted to get him off me. I didn't want to hurt him. I reached for it and I jabbed it at him. His grip
떼어내고
instantly
싶었을
loosened and I
뿐이다.
ran straight out the door and didn't look back.
그럼 찌르지 말고 그냥 놓으라고 협박만 하지 좀.
You did not even look to see what state you had left him in?
She had just been attacked, detective.
그럴 만한 경황이 없었다 이거야?
Oui, please. Continuez.
I ran down to the pantry looking for Rahana. She took one look at me and knew something was wrong. I explained to her what had happened and she went to find Archie. She said he would know what to do. We went back to the study and he was still lying there, motionless. Archie said that no one would believe me. That if someone like me killed someone like him, I would be sent straight to the gallows. He left the letter so you would find it. He said that if people knew what the Major was really like, then they wouldn't care what happened to him.
So I am to believe that it was Monsieur Sterling and Mademoiselle Rihanna that cleaned the scene and orchestrated a plan that included a fake telephone call and dressing as the Major so that he may be seen. You had nothing to do with that.
I swear I had no idea that is what they had done. Archie just told me to stay out of sight.
주모자
I'm
같은 게
no
아니에요.
master criminal.
주모자가 아니라 그냥 범죄를 저지른 건 맞지 않아요?
Then Monsieur Sterling and Mademoiselle Rihanna will be charged for obstruction of justice and impeding my investigation.
Please, detective. They were only trying to help me.
수사하는데 방해되게 구라쳤으니까요.
If they wished to help you, they should have brought all of this to my attention immediately instead of committing more illegal acts.
Surely you haven't forgotten what happened with Florette. She was only accused of stealing a bracelet. I killed a man.
It is a day I have not forgotten, mademoiselle, even for a moment.
Without your help, I don't stand a chance. Please, Detective Poirot,
이걸
you
뭐
are
어떻게
the only
도와줘?
one that can help me.
내가 뭘 어떻게 도와줘야 돼?
Oh, Elizabeth, why didn't you come to me?
I didn't think you would believe me. I felt so guilty. And when it was announced yesterday that he was a victim of the blackmailer, I wanted to tell you everything. I came to find you last night, Detective, but Archie stopped me.
약간 자수할 뻔에다가 이제 아치볼드가 막아섰네요. 그러면
I'm sorry.
나의 작은 회색 레세프야 이 미스터리를 풀어보자꾸나. 아니 다 말했는데 뭘 또 풀어요? 다 풀었구만. 왜를 찾아야 되나?
Magnifique.
엘리자베스의 이야기로 마고의 주장이 확인되었다. 소령의 죽음은 방해 행위의 결과였다. 마침내 소령 살인 사건을 해결했다. 엘리자베스 양이 살인자라고 선언하는 것은 전혀 달가운 일이 아니었다는 것을 인정해야겠다. 애초에 그녀가 그런 상황에 놓이지 않았더라면 좋았을 것을. 근데 엘리자베스랑 얘기할 만한 게 더 있는데?
Oh, yes, Detective.
소령의 칼은 어디로 갔죠?
I don't know where it is.
If you have been honest with me until now, I ask that you continue.
I'm sorry, I really don't know. Archie dropped it out of the
이거는
study window and he said he
아치한테
would deal with it.
아치볼드한테 물어봐가지고 알던 내용이긴 하죠. 지금은 그 칼은 내 수중에 있고 엘리자베스 양의 반응으로 봐서는 정말로 그 칼이 어떻게 되었는지는 모르는 것 같다. 그녀는 스털링 씨와 레아나 양이 그녀가 저지른 일을 감추려고 무슨 노력을 했는지 전혀 모르고 있다. 스털링 씨가 그녀를 위해 무엇이든 하겠다고 말한 것은 거짓이 아니었다. 오케이, 대기하세요.
Please, I was only protecting myself. I didn't want to hurt him. He just wouldn't let me go.
Oui, mademoiselle. I know. Mademoiselle tells quite the harrowing story.
I cannot imagine the Major acting in such a way. But Elizabeth could not make up such a story.
After learning what I have about the Major's character this weekend, I would not question the lengths he would go to in order to keep his secret hidden. I know that you share a close bond with Mademoiselle Elizabeth, but you cannot allow your personal feelings to taint your belief of what took place.
She has committed a terrible crime, but she will live with that for the rest of her life. She is not a cold-blooded killer.
If what she says of the Major's attack is true, she acted in self-defense.
법의 관점으로 볼 때는 죄가
And
되지
in the
않습니다.
law's eyes, a crime has
근데
not been committed.
수사를 못하게 거짓말한 그 두 명은 범죄가 맞지 않나?
I will do everything I can to make sure her story is heard and a fair trial is conducted.
아, 나는 수사만 하고 이제 판단은 법정에서. 나는 엘리자베스 양이 자백한 사건의 내용이 사실이라고 믿는다. 소령은 자신의 끔찍한 비밀이 밝혀질 것을 예상하고 분노에 휩싸여 이 젊은 여성을 공격했고 그녀가 자신을 보호하기 위해 어쩔 수 없는 선택을 하도록 몰아넣었다. 그녀는 스스로 위험한 처지에 놓이기를 자처했지만 소령의 명령에 의해 목숨을 잃은 다른 노동자와 사랑하는 사람을 위해 정의를 찾고자 그녀가 느꼈던 의무감을 일부 칭찬하고 싶다. 지금 전화선이 정상 작동하면 지금까지 찾아낸 것을 가지고 경찰 지원을 불러야 한다. 아직 쌓인 눈이 남아서 그들이 도착하려면 시간이 좀 걸릴 것 같다.
Mademoiselle, it is time I addressed the house.
Are you sure? What will you say? What if they do not listen?
사람들이 말을 듣지 않으면요? 아, 내가 공권력인데 내 말 안 들을 거야?
I can assure you, they will.
Elizabeth was right, though. She's just a servant. What if they...
Mademoiselle, when Detective Poirot speaks, they will listen. Would you ask the guests to convene in the library?
Of course.
평소에는 약간 쭈그린데 탐정되면 애가 약간 권위적으로 변하는 것 같아. 고용인들
I
불러야
have
되지
told
않을까?
Monsieur Starling to remain in the staff quarters with the others. When the authorities arrive, they shall be dealt with. You have been of great help to me throughout my investigation, and now that it is over, I have one final request.
You only need to ask.
While I am speaking with the guests in the library, would you watch over Mademoiselle Elizabeth in my room?
설마 뭐 도망칠까봐 봐달라는 건 아니겠지 이거?
You don't think she will try and escape, do you?
In her position, I do not know what she might try, but I trust with you there.
아, 약간 감시 역할로
potential
붙여놓는 게 맞나
ideas
봐.
of such a thing will be squashed.
감시역으로 하나 붙여놓네. 대단원.
Detective, you have spent more time making us sit and wait for you than anything else.
Madame Van den Bosch, if you think I have spent my time focused on anything besides uncovering the Major's killer, you are sorely mistaken.
I'm sure you will be eager to share your findings with us then.
All in good time, Madame. Firstly, to understand the truth of what has occurred this weekend, one must know the timeline of events that not only preceded the Major's death, but succeeded.
We are all well aware of what happened before, Detective. You can save your breath.
You are only aware of what the guilty parties wanted you to believe, but now I shall apprise you to the true events. The reason for us all
이제
being
하나하나
here,
다
you know.
정리해줘서 말해주나
The
봐.
altercation between Monsieur Demire and the Major, you know. The body of Monsieur Hagen was found while we were all sat enjoying a most delicious meal. That you also know. But what was kept from us all was that his body lay on the study floor for far longer than was thought.
It was that servant. She found him.
S'il te plaît, monsieur. It was indeed young Inga
말하고
that
있으니까
found the
조용히 해.
Major's body lying lifeless in the study.
So it was her.
Monsieur, I will not allow for any further interruptions. I return to the Major's body. If we are to believe the scene that we were presented with, the Major must have been killed during the first course of our meal, a meal that none of you left, even for a moment. Speaking in the evening, you all confirmed one another's alibis, and although there was doubt in the validity of some, I confirmed that they were indeed all true. What I could not understand was how a man came to be found dead, and every guest accounted for at the time of death. That is until I questioned the latter. Monsieur Beckers, I shall now allow you to speak. You saw the Major smoking a cigar in the snow. Is that true?
It is.
False. You saw what you were meant to see. Someone in the Major's coat standing outside, giving the illusion that the Major was still very much alive. Monsieur da Silva, on the afternoon of the Major's death, do you recall hearing a telephone ring?
Now that you mention it, I have not heard a single ring all weekend.
Correct. The telephone lines have been down for the duration of our stay. meaning the telephone call that was received and promptly directed to the major's study was yet another act of trickery and deceit. But it did not end there. When I entered the study for the first time, it was obvious someone had already been there and falsified the scene to stage a burglary and clear away important evidence, including the murder weapon. What followed was an investigation that had already been hindered. But even those lengths were not enough to derail me for long.
I think we have all had enough of your self-praise, Detective. Perhaps you would like to tell us who killed him now?
Madame, as I'm sure you would expect, it is not as simple as that. What
빌드업이
many of you
중요한
do not
사건인가 봐
know
이게.
is
역시.
the discussion that was had
그래서 다
between the
설명하고
Major and Monsieur
하나하나 다
Beckers
설명을
earlier
해주고
that
이렇게
day.
해주나 보네.
What has that got to do with anything? I told you I didn't kill him.
That I know to be true. What you do not know is that it was not only his ears that heard your spoken words.
I hope you are not implying I had something to do with it.
No, madame, there was another. Mademoiselle Elisabeth. You are all aware that the Major was hired by Monsieur de Silva to front the security during the workers' strikes. What very few of you know is that it was the Major's order that instigated the vicious attacks on those unarmed men and resulted in numerous deaths, including Mademoiselle Elisabeth's fiancé, Luc. Monsieur Beckers confronted the Major, declaring that he was to hand himself in. That is what Mademoiselle Elisabeth overheard. Now, knowing the truth, she waited until the Major was away from his study. After he stepped outside following the confrontation with Monsieur Demir's fist, it looked to be the perfect opportunity, or so she thought. The Major returned and found her looking for the proof she required to hand him over to the authorities.
If the maid bumped him off, why hasn't she been arrested?
The events that followed in the study are not those of a cold-blooded murder,
정당방위.
but one of a young girl that had no other option but to protect her own life.
Sounds to me, Detective, like you have taken a shine to this young girl and would rather protest her innocence than arrest her for murder, the crime she has committed.
Jeez, this is gonna make for a juicy story.
역시 언론사다.
Mademoiselle, I ask you this. You have seen the Major's anger before, oui?
What if I have?
How do you think he would have reacted if someone was to find proof that he had committed a terrible act, and that if made public, would surely result in his incarceration? Exactement.
It is quite the story you have told, Detective, but all I have heard is that Elizabeth overheard a conversation blaming the Major for her fiancé's death.
왕년에
She
존경받던 사람.
murdered him in
존경받진
revenge.
않던데.
A servant killing a man that is as revered as he was. She will face the noose.
I am not denying that a man has lost his life, but it is not the crime of murder that you all believe. While the Major did not deserve to die in such a way, it was his actions towards Mademoiselle Elisabeth that drove her to defend herself in any way she could. Mademoiselle Elisabeth will be punished, but we will let the law decide the severity of her punishment.
She has played you like a fiddle, Detective, acting the innocent victim. She will be arrested and hanged for her crime, like every other cold-blooded killer.
Here, here.
Give her what she deserves.
The girl has got to pay for
다
what she's
사용하자고
done.
하네요. 소령 소재에서 무슨 일이 일어났는지 이보다 더 명확히 알 수는 없었을 것이다. 저들은 모두 소령을 어떻게 생각했는지, 그가 저지른 끔찍한 범죄도, 그가 그들에게 했던 짓도 모두 잊어버렸다. 나는 이 집안에 있는 사람들이 엘리자베스 양의 형량에 부정적인 영향을 미치게 할 수 없다. 그들의 과거 행적이 어떻게 이런 불행한 상황과 인명피해를 초래했는지 볼 수 있게 해야 한다. 아마도 노동자들의 파업뿐만 아니라 그로 인한 폭동에 대해 그들이 어떠한 기여를 했는지 상기시켜야 할 것이다.
Those of you that are calling for the hanging of Mademoiselle Elisabeth, have you forgotten the roles you played? Your actions have been far from innocent.
Look, Detective, I see
뭐야?
where you are going
방패
with
뚫어야
this,
돼?
but it's not going to work. So maybe the strikes were down to De Silva and Beckers. But don't try and drag me into their mistakes.
Mademoiselle Conrad, if you are so confident
혓바닥을
of your
나불대는
innocence,
니놈의
perhaps
혓바닥부터
we should begin with you.
잘라주겠다. 콜레드 양의 개입을 인정하도록 설득하는 것은 쉬운 일이 아니다. 그녀는 강력한 여성이고 이전에도 질문을 모면한 적이 있다. 아마도 좀 더 공격적인 접근이 필요할 것이다. 일단 중립적으로 지금 업계 최고 자리에 계시죠. 하지만 말씀해 주시죠. 왜 저널리즘 세계에 투신하셨습니까? 힐난조로 머리 기사를 위해서는 뭐든지 하겠다는 제안이 불가능한 것은 아니죠. 안 그렇습니까? 약간 공격적으로 접근이 필요하다고 그랬으니까 공격적으로 합시다. 힐난조.
You don't need to imply it's only me that does. Ask any of my journalists, they'll say the same.
아, 남들도 다 그런다. 나만 그런 거 아니다.
Even if in the process people are hurt.
직격 매겼고요.
You knew the situation surrounding the strikes and only sought to swell the anger in people and create further chaos.
할 말 없죠.
Mademoiselle, you so often have something
그죠.
to say. Now is not the time for silence.
You really are delusional. Maybe you should just keep your theories and claims to yourself.
힘주어. 당신은 어떻게든 다른 사람들을 자기의 계획을 위해 이용했고 그로 인한 영향은 고려하지 않았습니다. 창피를 주며 저는 이익을 위해서 다른 사람의 목숨을 희생시키는 분야가 있다는 건 전혀 모릅니다. 위에 거 힘주어서 해봅시다.
You obviously have no idea what goes on in
창피
my
주는 건
world.
너무 그냥
I
인신공격
would say
느낌이고.
stick to honest police work, but it seems that it's not in your field either.
황당해하며 솔직히 당신이 한 일이 용납될 수 없다고 생각하지 않습니까? 넌더리를 내면 다른 사람들의 실패를 딛고 승승장구하셨죠. 이거는 좀 애매한데. 공정하게 경찰 업무나 충실하게 하시라고 말하고 싶지만 그쪽 업계도 그렇지는 못할 것 같은데요. 넌더리를 내면
Look, it's
Mademoiselle, I do not have time for your excuses. Do you wish to state your direct involvement, or should I?
it's not.
오케이.
Okay, fine.
두들겨 팼다.
Yes,
이겼다.
the story was going nowhere. There was a deal on the table, and it was going to be done and dusted. Everything you said is true. I wanted the story, the scoop that would have blown the others out of the water. I never wanted anyone to get hurt, but I didn't think you had this side in you. I can see now why Angeline asked for you personally. You're not like other cops. It's clear it's the law and doing the right thing through and through with you. If you say it was self-defense, I believe you.
We can't just forget what that girl
남은
has done.
너야?
It's not Jackie's fault or any of ours that she decided to do what she did.
Monsieur Beckers, you are the last person I expected to defend Mademoiselle Conrad. We talked only last night, and correct me if I am wrong, but you have already declared the role you played. To me, at least.
Yes, we talked.
너도 깃방망이 딱 대.
It's just not fair of you to
패트리어트
attack
미사일
Jackie like
들어간다.
that, putting words in her mouth until she succumbs to your plan.
제키가 당신 계획에 굴복할 때까지 대답을 유도하면서 그런 식으로 제키를 공격하는 건 정말 불공평하잖아요. 어제 논의에서 베커스 씨는 파업과 폭동에 자신의 역할이 영향을 미쳤다는 것을 인정했지만 그 사실을 남들은 알지 못하게 하려는 것 같다. 자신의 사적인 문제가 공개되는 것을 좋아하지 않을 수도 있지만 그것이 그를 납득시키는데 필요하다면 해야만 한다. 냉소하며 파업이 폭력적으로 변해서 동지들을 위험에 빠뜨릴 가능성을 생각하지 않았다고요? 단도직입적으로 당신은 노조 위원장인데도 노조와 전혀 관련 없는 사람들에게 휘둘렸습니다. 냉소하며가 맞지 않나? 얘가 선동했다는 걸 까발려야 되는 거 아니야?
This is
아니네.
ridiculous. It was a peaceful strike. We only wanted what was deserved. Surely you do not think I sought to worsen the situation?
Monsieur Beckers, you have taken the words from my mouth.
Jackie was documenting everything to do with the strikes. She wanted our story to be heard and wanted to know how I was handling the negotiation.
And they were handled by yourself?
Naturally, if I cannot handle simple negotiations, I am not fit to be in the position I am in.
콘레드 양은 당신의 결정을 좌우하고 영향을 주고 조종했습니다. 인정내며 굉장히 자신의 일에 자부심이 있어 보이는군요. 파업 중에 일어난 결정에 대해서도 자랑스럽습니까? 뭘로 찔러야 되지? 애매하네.
I was only
오케이.
pushing for what my men
밑에 걸로 했어요.
deserved, what
빈정되는
they
거.
needed. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, detective. Surely you must know that. Nothing is ever simple, detective. I'm sure you understand that better than anyone.
세상 일이 간단한 게 없습니다. 니들이 구라만 안 쳤으면 간단했을 텐데 말이죠. 중립적으로 당신은 목소리를 내지 못하는 사람들을 위해 싸웠습니다. 그렇다면 사회적 차별의 영향으로 또 한 명 잃는 일을 용납하지는 않으시겠죠? 황당해하며 베커스 씨 화려한 언변은 충분히 오래 들었습니다. 이제는 진실을 말해야 할 때입니다. 중립적으로 가볼까?
You're right, detective.
오케이.
I have tried so hard to deny my part, but I know only too well that my decisions led to the death of
와,
those
한번
men.
실패해가지고 틀린 줄 알았네.
I know I cannot excuse what I've done. I just want you all to know that I am not a hateful or malicious man. I
아니,
only
누가
want
연설가
to
아니랄까봐
prove that I was
그렇게
the
길게
right
말하네.
man. I have lived in other shadows for so long. I thought I would be able to finally step into the light and be the one that everyone remembered, not forgot. Monsieur da Silva offered me a deal and I turned it down. I thought I was doing right by the workers. It was only myself who was thinking.
What more proof do you need? He said it himself. I made a generous offer to reach a resolution, and he turned his nose up
아,
at
이번엔
it.
얘 차례인가봐요.
It was not that simple, though. Oui, an offer was made, but Monsieur Beckers and the workers would never have been forced into that position had their working conditions been satisfactory to begin with.
This is outrageous. Do you plan on blaming everyone for doing their jobs? I suppose it makes you feel better about yourself, does?
다실바 씨가 결국에는 입을 열었지만 협박 편지 문제를 논의할 때는 개인적으로 비밀리에 나눈 대화인 만큼 방어적인 면모를 보였다. 그가 다른 손님 앞에서 솔직하게 털어놓을 것이라고 기대할 수는 없다. 그의 잘못을 다시 인정하게 하려면 설득이 필요할 것이다. 단도직입적으로 단순히 자기 할 일을 하고 자기 사람에게 타당한 대우를 해주었더라면 그런 파업은 일어나지 않았을 겁니다. 비난하며 누군가의 행동을 정당화하려고 애쓰는 것은 처음 보는군요. 문제는 당신의 행동과 당신의 결정에서 비롯된 것입니다. 단도직입적으로 갈까? 네가 대우해줬으면은 파업 안 일어났겠지.
It may be a big deal to you, but I am used to workers not being happy with something. And most of the time, that unhappiness
수비를
is
해?
directed at me. When you're in charge of your own factory, you'll understand. I handle the situation the best I could.
공장 돌리면 사소한 불평 불만은 나올 수도 있다 이거야?
If you think otherwise, maybe you have proved us all right that you aren't the great detective you claim to be.
자부심을 보이며 제가 주장하는 모든 것은 사실과 진실에 근거합니다. 위협적으로 자기 비밀을 감추고 싶은 욕망은 강력한 힘으로 작용하죠. 선생의 철옹성이 얼마나 쉽게 무너질지 궁금하군요. 같은 혐의를 제기한 익명의 협박범에게는 돈을 지불할 용의가 있었습니까? 선택지가 3개나 돼? 갑자기? 자기 비밀을 감추고 싶은 욕망은 강력한 힘으로 작용하죠. 선생의 철옹성이 얼마나 쉽게 무너질지 궁금하군요. 이거 협박 편지 내용 꺼내면 안 될 것 같은데 굳이 얘가 드러내고 싶지 않다고 했잖아. 한번 위협해볼까?
Do your worst, detective. I have spent years
일본 할
building
걸.
my name, my reputation.
못
Monsieur da
듣겠는데.
Silva, You seem to have forgotten our previous conversations.
I recall them just fine, thank you. A police officer trying to manipulate.
고용인들을 상대로 한 가혹행위와 민병대 고용에 대한 주장, 그게 제 의도에 따라 왜곡된 사실들입니다. 단호하게 의도적이건 아니건 간에 소련과의 계약이 폭동에 불을 당긴 것입니다. 아, 일단 계약해서 불 당긴 거잖아요.
Do you really think this is the first time
일단
blame has
네가
fallen?
계약했잖아요.
Although I don't think I've seen someone try so hard before to even convince themselves of what they are saying.
Have you not learnt enough already from having your factories closed? If you have any hope to return to normality, you must admit your faults and accept the repercussions.
아, 개나 소나서 참작이 되는구나. 아니,
I really
이 양반이?
don't know how you came to your
Through order and...
order? There's no order in beating down who you consider suspects until they have.
Monsieur da Silva, you have stood steadfast, and your opinion on your involvement has not wavered.
Detective,
아 뭐야, 다음은
you would
할머니요?
do well not to anger my
따스한들아.
friends.
It was not my intention. I only want those responsible to be held accountable for their actions. The Major's death does not fall on one person alone. Does your position on Mademoiselle Elizabeth's guilt
아, 이렇게
remain
하나하나
the same?
다 꼬셔야 되나 봐.
Even after
무죄로
all your
만들려는.
attempts, Detective, Felix was still murdered.
제대로
Self-defense or not,
선택해야겠네.
she chose to
장난칠 게
hide
아니라.
what she had done because she knew what she had done was wrong, and she will be punished for it.
정당방위든 아니든 그 애는 자기가 잘못했다는 것을 알았기 때문에 자기가 한 짓을 숨기려고 했고 그에 대한 벌을 받아야 해.
It was not choice to hide anything, madame. If in her position I ask, what would you have done? The Major has already furiously thrown an object at you, barely missing your head, and now has hold of your arm.
I wouldn't have driven a knife into him, that I can tell you for sure. She is no fool. She intended to kill, not to defend.
칼은 너무 과했다. 한덴버시 부인은 다른 손님보다 훨씬 설득이 까다롭지만 이전에는 내 접근법이 통했다. 만약 엘리자베스 양이 다른 선택의 여지가 없는 행동을 했다는 걸 알게 하려면 소령의 행동이 그녀의 행동을 초래했다고 설득해야 한다. 소령이 너무 과했다는 것을 설득해야 된다. 그러니까 엘리자베스가 그렇게 할 수밖에 없었다는 걸로 설득을 해야 된다. 소령과 가장 친밀하셨죠. 그의 폭력성은 놀랍지도 않으실 테고요. 주저없이 이번 주말에 다른 손님들과 이야기해보니 소령의 욱하는 성질을 보인 것이 이번이 처음이 아니라고 하더군요. 위에 게 더 나을 것 같은데. 폭력성. 함정님 눈. 원래 설득하려면 눈을 딱 쳐다보고 해야지. 원래 사실 말보다는 기선제압이 더 중요할 수도 있습니다. 같이 지내봤으니까 카산드라도 아마 폭력을 당했다고 그러지 않았었나? 떠볼게요.
Quite presumptuous of you to assume violence is in his nature.
Putting my own feelings towards the Major aside, he was not an honorable man, at least at some time in his life. He must have been for you to allow him in your house for so many years.
좋아. 한 대 때렸어. 저 이 삐쭉 튀어나온 거 봐. 저거 그냥.
So, even you confirm he had a history of aggression.
공격성 이력은 확인해줬고 소령은 영국군에서 불명예 전역을 당했죠. 그 이유를 아십니까? 그는 배려심 많은 친구 역할을 잘 해냈죠. 하지만 그것은 전부 연기였습니다. 아니야. 불명예 전역. 얼마나 폭력성을 지니고 있는지를 증거를 내세워서 깨닫게 하는 거지.
I'm sure that is none
그건
of my business.
상관없어요?
Likewise, it is none
그런가?
of yours.
The Major shot and killed a number of unarmed prisoners as they were bound and terrified, posing no threat.
저 카산드라는 당장 자기한테 닥친 거 아니면 그렇게 크게 신경 안 쓰는 타입 같은데.
You judge him so harshly, but I return the question. What would you
그의
have done
입장에서
in his
어떻게 했겠나?
position? He had made mistakes. I will not deny that. In those moments when a decision had to be made, it fell to him, and he did what he saw fit.
한 번 잘못된 결정을 내리는 것은 실수라고 하겠지만 두 번이면 선택입니다. 소령에게 받으신 부당한 대우는요. 그게 정당화되었습니까? 소령은 무장하지 않은 노동자들에게 공격할 것을 명령했습니다. 당연히 그런 것은 용납할 수 없는 일 아닙니까? 아씨 1번은 아닐 것 같고 2번 아니면 3번인데 호소하는 게 될까? 근데 이 3번도 왠지 자기 관련된 거 아니라서 또 신경 안 쓸 것 같은데 정당화 됐는지 한번 물어봅시다. 그래 이 아줌마 아주 못됐네. 자기 관련된 거면 그냥 입 쿡 다시네 그냥.
S'il te plaît, madame. I ask that you consider everything you know of the Major carefully.
그러니까 어떻게 보면 카산드라고 알고 있는 소령에 대해서 얘기를 해야 되기 때문에 두 번째 답이 맞았던 것 같아.
He was not always
좋아,
like
다행이다.
that. The man that I called a friend would never have done what he has. I cannot allow another innocent person to be punished for his vicious and barbarous behavior.
You have seen the Major act in a similar manner as I described before, haven't you? What was the outcome then?
You have convinced me that I am wrong in both my opinion on Elizabeth's punishment and in the friendships I keep. Is that not enough for you?
성공했나?
Not when a potential crime has been committed, and I fear an innocent party may have been punished for it.
He was just a boy. I told him to stop, but he was like a wild animal.
The confrontation with Mademoiselle Elizabeth was not the first time he has come close to killing another.
다른 사람을 죽일 뻔한 것이 첫 번째 사건이 아니란 말입니다.
It was following the officers' ball. A young man, no older than 16, stopped us on the street, begging for some change. Felix pushed him away, but he was persistent. He only wanted a few coins. Like a flash, Felix snapped and wouldn't let go of him. He would not stop punching him. I have never seen anything so brutal.
돈이 없어서 주먹을 대신 줬다?
But he was never charged for the attack.
Felix called the captain at the station and said that the boy had tried to rob him, and he was merely defending himself. The boy was thrown behind bars without a second thought. It was a full week before the bruises on Felix's knuckles finally faded.
And even after witnessing such a brutal assault, you still support him. You still believe that he had not attacked Elizabeth.
The days following, he showed no signs of remorse, no apology to him or to me. I blamed it on the amount he had had to drink. But when you began talking about him,
그러니까 일전에도 비슷한 일이 있었다는 거네.
in his study,
심지어 그때는 그냥 동전 몇 푼 달라 그랬는데 그런 거였고 이번에는 더 중대한 상황이었으니까 더 큰일이 났을 수도 있다.
Had you been open about the Major's temper, this could all have been avoided. When you tell the courts the truth, Mademoiselle Elizabeth's self-defense plea cannot be ignored.
사실 나머지 앞에 애들은 필요 없고 카산드라만 잘 설득했으면 정당방위는 받을 수 있을 것 같은데요. 그냥?
Just when I thought I could not see a more
주택길은
spineless
아주 갈
move.
데가 따로 없으시네. 중이 임마 너도 협박 편집하면 임마.
excuse me,
You allowed a bully and thug to remain in your house and endanger your family.
범죄자가 감히 말을 해?
I'm sorry, Margot, but I am struggling to understand why you have
아직
involved yourself.
협박 편집음이라고 말 안 했나? 쟤한테?
I'm surprised you can hear me way up there on that high horse of yours.
How dare you speak to me in that way? Who I decide to keep in my house is my decision and no one else's.
I can see that. Murderers, thieves, and extortionists are all acceptable, it seems.
Countess, I have talked at length of the Major's death, but not the reason for my invitation in the
초대받은
first
이유는
place.
협박 편지범을 찾으러 온 거였는데
When I last
저
gathered
친구가
you all
협박
together, I
편지범으로
spoke of a
밝혀졌죠.
blackmail ring that was rife in the area, and then of the letter that the Major had received. Mademoiselle Angeline requested my help personally after she received such a letter threatening her family name. She felt I was the only one that could uncover the truth.
Get on with it, detective. Who dared try and extort my family and then have the gall to allow me to welcome them into my home?
누구 친구요?
If it was not for the honesty of a young servant, I would perhaps still be looking for the
For goodness sake,
뭐야?
it was me.
직접 말하네. 답답했나봐.
Margot, how could you?
어차피 다 눈치 깠다 이건.
While it looked as though the Countess was helping the young women at the shelter, she was in fact only finding them positions of employment in wealthy homes to gather information on them and learn secrets that she would ultimately be able to use
저 마구였나?
against them.
쟤한테 쉼터는 그냥 정보 수집처 그런 거였던 거죠, 약간.
Monsieur da Silva fell victim to her network of moles and was in turn blackmailed. It was quite the prosperous setup you had, knowing that they would not be prepared to lose their social standing if a secret was to find its way from where it had been hidden for so long.
That cannot be true, Margot. How could you do such a cruel thing?
That is rich, coming from you.
야, 이 아줌마 양파 껍질 잘 벗겨진다잉.
You are one of my oldest friends.
High and mighty, Madame van den Bosch. You think you can do what you wish when you wish it and there will be no repercussions. You are as bad as all of them.
If I do not get a straight answer out of you, I will march you to the police station myself.
I'm surprised it took the Major this long to start living with you. He must have been on the edge for some time.
How dare you speak to me like that? In my own home.
A home you share with the father of your daughter for so many
양파
years.
속껍질 아니 좀
And
매운데?
she still remains none the wiser.
계속 주저리시는데?
You have no right.
뭐야?
Maman,
어? 뭐야?
Angeline,
엘리자베스는 어쩌고 왔어?
have you heard what she has admitted to? She is merely trying to make herself.
is what she says true?
아,
Felix, he was my father?
맞아. 제가 원래 소령 딸이었죠.
That is the secret that the letter was talking
그걸 지금
about,
말한
isn't
거고.
it?
아니 엘리자베스 옆에 있으니까 왜 여기 왔어? 엘리자베스 도망가면 어쩌려고?
Detective Poirot, were you aware of this?
Oui, mademoiselle. But it was not my place to repeat.
I don't understand. What about father? Your mama betrayed the love of a good, honest man and played away behind his back.
이 아줌마
and
맵다.
then kept it
많이
hidden
매운
for all
사람이다.
these years like a lady of the night with her client list.
살인 사건 하나 추가되겠는데 이러다가.
Angeline, I.
Did Felix know?
This is not an appropriate conversation.
He knew, dear girl. He knew the whole time. It is only dear Edwin that was blind to their deceit.
You will not talk of him like that. You will not talk of him at all.
If I don't, who will? You never deserved him. You don't even deserve the memory of him.
Countess, there is something that you still have not explained.
What more is there for her to say?
How long were you in love with the Viscount for?
Margot? Is that true?
We were destined to be together. And then you turned up, and I was all but forgotten about.
But you were nothing more than friends.
And you made sure of that, didn't you? From the day you arrived, it was all about what you wanted and what you had to do to get it. You didn't consider Edwin at all. He was just a purse to you.
I loved my husband, and I miss him every day.
Loved him enough to stray? Both of you, no more.
Please, Ange.
이거 완전 콩가루구만 이거.
Let me explain.
저 이제 집에 가도 돼요?
I do not wish to
몇
hear
게임만 한 내용이
anything
아닌 것
else from
같은데.
you. Not even
끼어있다간
your own
복잡해질 것
daughter
같은데,
wants to hear your lies anymore. Cassandra Van den Bosch, all alone.
How dare you!
뭐야? 진짜 집에 가는 거야? 웃는 거 봐 저거.
While I feel a sense of satisfaction and pride in solving both cases, there is still a part of me that is reluctant to revel in triumph. I am content with the unmasking of Countess de Vos as the blackmailer, and knowing that she will pay for her crimes. But it is the justice for Mademoiselle Elizabeth that worries me. She will stand in a court of law, and I can only hope that they can see she acted in self-defense. I must trust that our legal system
뭐야 뭐
and
판결
justice will
결과는 안
prevail,
알려주는 거야?
and a fair
우리한테?
sentencing will be given. In protecting her own life, she took the life of another. Perhaps the guilt she must live with is a greater punishment than any sentence she can receive.
뭐야 결과 안 알려줘?
Countess de Vos was
알려주나 보다.
taken from Nemozine House in cuffs and placed under arrest. Although she initially tried to plead her innocence, Inga, along with a number of other girls that the Countess had found employment for, came forward and made full statements. She was charged with 5 counts of blackmail and extortion and
합법
sent to
편집은
a house of
일단
corrections, where she will have a new
유죄
life
판결
to
받아서
become
이제
accustomed to.
콩밥 먹게 됐고요. 아치볼드 어떻게 됐냐?
Monsieur Sterling and Mademoiselle Rihanna were also reprimanded for their participation. While they may not be facing time in prison, tampering with a crime scene and obstruction of a police investigation
얘들은
are
감옥까지는 안 가고
certainly not something that houses and new employers
다른
will
직장을
look
알아보러
positively
갔다.
on. Mademoiselle Angeline finally became Madame Demire, and together they took up residence in England, where Monsieur Demire continues to support and fight
얘들은
for
예정대로
fairness and
결혼했고.
equality in London. I am happy to say that we have remained in contact, and Madame Demire has become a regular correspondent of mine. And the latest joyous news is that they are expecting a child of their own. Madame Van den Bosch showed compassion that I had not seen in her before. She stood in court and gave a truthful and genuine character reference of Elizabeth, as well as describing the major and the atrocious crimes he had committed. After Madame Van den Bosch's secret was revealed to the world, her position in the social hierarchy was no more, disappearing in a moment. While she still resides in Belgium, I believe she has had to adapt to a far more modest way of life. A humbling experience for her, I am sure. Following her actions in the courtroom, Angeline believed that her maman still had a place in her life. Although they are on different sides of La Manche, they remain in contact. Mademoiselle Conrad left Nemozine House the same way she entered, confident in herself and audacious in her opinions. Her report of the Major's murder at the house and the surrounding blackmails became one of the most talked about stories of the year. While there were certain details of her own involvement that did not make it to print, she was really quite
탐욕에 대해서는
complimentary
상당한
about the
찬사를
detective at
적었다.
the heart of the case.
혓바닥으로 찌발렸으니까.
Monsieur de Silva
아 근데
tried
얘는
to
못 이겼어.
continue
아,
his position
이놈을
as
조졌어야
factory
되는데.
owner and business entrepreneur. But after his accounts and business dealings were investigated following the details of his blackmail being made public in Mademoiselle Conrad's article, his illustrious business empire
대신
began
사회적으로
to
좀
crumble
조져졌네요.
and is now facing an international corporate
괜찮아.
investigation.
사회적으로 조졌으면 결국 내가
Monsieur
이긴 거야.
Beckhaus stepped down from his position as union leader, accepting that he was no longer fit to represent the workforce that, in his words, he had let down on a scale of unmeasurable proportion. Although he is no longer the voice of the workers, he continues to support them from behind the scenes. Monsieur Zachariah and his brother made amends,
얘는 잘
and
모르겠다.
returning to his family home,
그냥
and
술주정뱅이였어
after sobering up,
사실.
he was able to find the help that he required. I understand that he is now helping fellow soldiers with similar conditions. And Mademoiselle Elizabeth, she stood before a court, and while the proceedings were deemed controversial, the charges against her were dropped, and the reasoning of self-defense was accepted by the presiding judge. Madame Van den Bosch's testimony, along with Mademoiselle Angeline's declaration of her good character, was enough to show that it was not in Elizabeth's nature to act in such a violent way. The abundance of evidence against the Major and his violent and cruel nature, including his appalling acts during the strikes and the war, was more than enough to prove that Mademoiselle Elizabeth had no other option in that situation but to defend herself in any way that she could. With the new arrival of Madame and Monsieur Demire's child next year, they have agreed to give Elizabeth the opportunity to return home to England and take up a position in their home as nanny.
몸으로 일할 기회를 준다. 이 정도면 그래도 해피엔딩으로 끝나는 느낌인가? 이 정도면?
The death of Elizabeth's beloved Luke has been at the center of everything. Had those in positions to help not acted with only themselves in mind, perhaps he would still be alive today, and the Major would have paid the price for his own crimes in the eyes of the law, not at the blade of a knife. The blood of Major Felix Egan will remain on Elizabeth's hands, a stain that wherever she is and whatever she may do, she will never be able to wash clean. However, it will remain as a reminder to not only her, but all of us, of what we as human beings are capable
수갑이
of
특이하게
within
생겼네 저거.
ourselves. We all have something that may be considered shameful or sinful, and it is how we deal with it that shows our true character. Those involved in the riots, the workers' deaths, and the Major's killing believed themselves to be untouchable. Whether it was from their social standing or their confidence in themselves, they learned that everyone is accountable for their actions. There is no exemption because of the suit you wear or the money in your bank account. There is no price to a man's life. It cannot be bought or traded or discarded. No man is better than another, including Detective Hercule Poirot.
이렇게 해서 에르킬 푸아로 첫 번째 사건 엔딩을 봤습니다. 엔딩 부분에서 잘하면 내가 거기서 설득 못했으면은 엘리자베스가 이제 유죄 판결 받아서 사형당했을 수도 있을 것 같은데 다행히도 설득을 해서 다행이네요. 일단 재밌었고요. 약간 사건 진행이 증거보다는 약간 인물에 좀 집중돼 있어가지고 뭔가 좀 추리게임 치고는 좀 신기했네요. 보통은 증거 대조한 다음에 이 증거에 따라서 뭐 이렇게 한다 이런 식으로 이어질 줄 알았는데 이놈들이 인물이 계속 거짓말하니까 인물 중심적으로 약간 조직이 되네요. 좀 게임이. 그래도 뭐 추리게임 오랜만에 재밌었고요. 빌드업이 아주 잘 돼있네요. 가끔 그 마인드맵 연결할 때 애매하게 이으면은 무조건 틀리는 게 조금 막히는 부분이어서 답답하긴 했는데 그거는 뭐 이런 게임 특성상 어쩔 수 없을 것 같고 일단 재밌게 잘 즐겼습니다.